Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to preface this video by saying that my allergies are absolutely killing me right now. I took some allergy meds, but not working. So if I sound very stuffy, I am. So I apologize. Today I wanted to do a video of my 5-star predictions for the remainder of this year. I have kind of split it into two different groups. I have the books I have pre-ordered, not all of them, but some of the ones I'm most excited for. And then the second part is kind of like books I'm planning on reading this year that are not necessarily new releases that I'm looking forward to and that I think I'll love. So let's just get into it. First up, I have Furysong by Rosario Munda. This is a pre-order that comes out, I believe, in August, and I've talked about this series a lot. It is the third book in the Fireborn trilogy, which I don't know if they have a series title or not. I don't remember. But this book is the third book in the series, and I am so excited for it. It is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This is a YA fantasy series, which, as most of you that have watched my videos before know, I've been kind of having a hard time with YA. I am just getting older. I'm like close to 30, which is like, I don't want to think about it, but I'm just not relating to the characters in YA books as much as I used to, just because I'm older. However, this series is an exception to the rule because I am obsessed with this series. It is so good, so well written. It is a very political fantasy that has dragons in it as well, so like two of my favorite things. But it follows basically this boy who was the son of the rulers of this territory or whatever, this country, whatever it is. And there's a revolution and his whole family is killed in front of him, but he is spared. And then the other main character is a girl who was orphaned because this boy's family killed her family. They used to use dragons to like perform these executions. So her entire family was also killed in front of her eyes by this boy's family. So they both end up in the same orphanage and become fast friends. And they both are kind of aware of each other's history, but never really address it. And they both become dragon riders for this new like republic that has formed after the full revolution that happened when they were kids. A lot of the story is them battling with their pasts as well as battling with their presents, and realizing that the people that have taken over after this revolution are maybe also not the best. They've maybe just created another sort of caste system. So it is just an incredibly well thought out book that just evokes so much emotion because it's so complex. It's very hard to determine the right from the wrong, and you just want these characters to be happy, but you also want them to do the right thing. But what is the right thing? So it is just such a good book. It makes you think. It has incredible characters. The plot is so good. So I am very, very excited for this next book. It is one of my most anticipated books of the year. So I predict it will be 5 stars for me. Next up is another pre-order, and that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a dark academia fantasy story. I don't know a whole lot about it because I want to go into it kind of empty-headed, but I do know it is about a Chinese-British man who's living in Britain, I believe in like the 1800s, and he's working as a translator, I think, and he's kind of having to battle with like his Chinese identity and his British identity and something along those lines. I think that's what I was getting from the synopsis. I'm predicting it to be 5 stars, but a little hesitantly because while I enjoyed the Poppy War, the whole trilogy, I wasn't as hyped for it as everyone else was. However, I definitely respected the writing, and I think that it was written so well, and I love dark academia. So I'm hoping that the change in kind of like the genre, while it's still fantasy, it's like a very different kind of fantasy, I'm hoping that I can like this book by her better. So I'm very excited for it. I think it'll be 5 stars just because I love dark academia. Like, some of my favorite books this year have been dark academia books, especially when it's fantasy. Like, I just love that whole genre. I love like pretentious characters and like really smart characters and learning and like the school setting. I love it. So really hoping that Babel is just as good as I'm hoping. Next up, you all knew it would be on this list. is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is the second book in the Atlas series, the first one being the Atlas 6, and I talk about the Atlas 6 all the time. And you've probably also seen other people talking about it all the time because it is huge in the book community. I think rightfully so. I've seen a lot of people that don't like it as well, so it's not for everyone. But this is another dark academia setting, and it is about these magicians, which they aren't called magicians in the book, but I can never remember what they're called. But they're magicians, and they each have their own respective specialty in magic, and they're all chosen. There's 6 of them. They're chosen as the best in the country, and they're chosen to try to join this Alexandrian society, which is a secret society of scholars, basically, in this magic world that kind of run the country. It feels very Illuminati vibes, but like scholarly Illuminati. And they find out that only 5 of them will actually be inducted into this society. And so it is kind of like this battle of wits, but also actual battles as well with magic. And they use their magic to break the universe. They're all just so smart, so pretentious. Everyone's morally gray. You don't know who to root for at all. The whole premise is just so fun, so cool. I love the books. I think the reason I really am drawn to dark academia is because you don't know who to root for. So many times in dark academia, there isn't a right person and a wrong person. It's everyone's kind of morally gray. Everyone's really pretentious. There's always these big philosophical questions in dark academia. So I think that's why I'm really drawn to it, because it really makes you think. And this book is no exception. There are definitely some lighter moments, and there are some people, there's one person I can think of in particular that is the one that everyone hates. He's a little less morally gray. But for the most part, most of the characters are very morally gray. And the twists and turns at the end had me shook. I was literally mouth agape, what is happening right now? I am so excited for the second one, especially with that cliffhanger, because I have no idea where this book is going. I have no idea how the story is going to continue from where we were. It can go in so many different directions, and that makes me so excited. So very pumped for this book. The last pre-order that I'm going to talk about is Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I have just finished Harrow the Ninth last month or this month, and it is one of the best books I've read this year. I think I ranked it 3rd in my tier ranking video, which I'll link above. It is incredible. Gideon the Ninth was really good. Harrow the Ninth was a masterpiece. It is so well written. The fact that you don't know what's going on for the first 70%, but you're still enjoying it. Most time if I'm confused for that long, I don't want to read it. I'm not interested. I will put the book down. I will DNF it. But Tamsin Muir has this way of keeping you invested and giving you just enough breadcrumbs to keep you guessing. Some of it I was able to figure out before the big reveals, but most of it I was not. I just kind of had a broad strokes picture in my head of where the book was going, but most of it I really just had no idea. And I absolutely adored that. It was so good. But this series, I'm not going to get too far into a synopsis because it is very confusing to explain, very confusing to read. Gideon the Ninth is set in space. It's like a sci-fi book. And there are these 9 houses. And I believe each house is on a different planet. I'm telling you, this series is confusing. Some of it I still don't get, which is why I want to do a reread, but that's for another day. And Harrow is the daughter of the rulers of the 9th house. And Gideon is an orphan who has grown up on the 9th house, or in the 9th house, and has been trained to be a kind of warrior. She uses a sword and swings it around. And Harrow is called upon by God, basically, as well as one person from each of the other houses to come to the first house and try to become a lictor, which is the people that fight for God. They are his warriors, basically. So it's a necromancer, which is what Harrow is, and they bring a cavalier. And so Harrow recruits Gideon, and they hate each other, they always have, but she recruits Gideon to be her cavalier, and they go to the first house. And from there, it's kind of this battle of wits and competition to see who becomes a lictor. Can you tell a running theme through all of these books that I'm excited for. I have a very particular type of 5-star books, I guess. But it's like a battle of wits to see who is going to become a lictor. And it's hilarious. Like, the banter is just so funny, but also so well written. Like, I'm so invested. The whole story is confusing, like, all the time. At all times, you're confused about something, and I don't care. Like, I just want to keep reading because I eat it up. It is so good. And the reveals are always so worth it. There's a romance in the story that is, like, so touching. Everything is just incredible. So I absolutely love these books, and I'm so excited for Nona the Ninth. I think it comes out in September, if I'm not mistaken, so I am so excited for it. So these last 4 are not pre-orders. These are books that have been out that I'm planning on reading this year that I'm just very excited for. So first up, I have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is, from what I can tell, a retelling, like a mythological retelling, I think. That's really all I know about it, and I could be totally wrong. So I'm not going to get into a synopsis because I don't know. But I think it's a mythological retelling. And I just see people raving about it like all the time. And I know how much I love mythological retellings. They're some of my favorite books. So I'm just really excited for this book. For all I know, it could be something I really don't enjoy. But I've just seen a lot of book reviewers that I trust saying they love it. So I'm hoping I do too. And if it is a mythological retelling, so many times I give mythological retellings 5 stars. So that's why I've put it on this list, even though I hardly know anything about it. Next up, I have Wrath by John Gwynne. I am hoping to read the whole Faithful and the Fallen series this year, and I own the first 3 and not the last one. The reason I've put the last one on here is because I know myself. I know how much I love the last book in a series. I am normally very emotional by the last book because you're so invested in the characters. You want their stories to end correctly, and when they do, the payoff is just like so beautiful. So I've put the last book on here just because I know I love last books. This series I don't know a whole lot about. I just know everyone loves it. But from what I can tell, it's kind of like a very traditional fantasy setting. And it's about like wars and fantasy creatures and things like that. So like, that's all I really know, but I am invested. I really enjoyed Hunger of the Gods this year, which is the second book in the Bloodsworn saga by John Gwynne, so I trust that he will create some really incredible characters that I will be very invested in. So I think that this last one for sure will be 5 stars, but I'm hoping some of the other ones in the series are also 5 stars. Next up, I have The Poison Song by Jen Williams. This is on this list for the same reason Wrath was, and it's because it is the last book of the Ninth Reign trilogy. I haven't started this trilogy. I also don't know a whole lot about this series. I just know that Elliot Brooks is like always raving about it. I'll link her channel down below. This is the 3rd book in the series, the last one. And again, same reason. I just know myself. I know I love last books in a series. So I'm betting this one will be 5 stars if the series is as good as everyone's saying it is. Everyone that reads it, almost everyone I've seen that has read it because of Elliot Brooks. Like, she has created this like fandom for it. Same with Fireborn. That's why I read Fireborn. It's because Elliot Brooks was always raving about it and like, why is no one reading it? And I completely agree. So I trust her, and I think I'm going to love this series. And I bet I'll give the last one 5 stars because I love endings. So that's why it's on this list. There's a theme here. The last one I have is Age of Empyre by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the last book in the Legends of the First Empire series. I have read the first 4 out of 6, so I just have the last 2 to go, and I am absolutely loving this series. It is so good. And so I just know this last book is going to break me, and I know I'll give it 5 stars because I've given some of the other ones 5 stars. Like, this series is just so good. The plot, I won't get too far into it, but the plot is very political, and then there's also a lot of magic. It's a very traditional fantasy story. There's elves, there's orcs, there's goblins, things like that. And we follow this woman who is older. Her husband and son have both died from this huge bear that is in the woods. And then this young woman from the woods comes with like foreboding, like telling them you're in danger kind of thing. And they work together to save the town, or try to save the town. And the story really goes off from there. There's so much in this story. There's so much like heartbreak. This story I'm rooting so hard for these characters. The characters are really what sells the story. The characters are so good. And some of the turns their character arcs have taken have broken me. Like, a lot of it is like making decisions for the greater good instead of for the personal good. And I just want to see these characters happy, and so often they have to make a choice that is not for their happiness, but is for the greater good. And it is so sad every time. So I just know Michael Sullivan is going to break me by this last book. I know these characters are not all going to get what they want. They might save the world. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're going to do something amazing, but I bet they're all going to die. So that's like my prediction. Everyone's going to die. I mean, this book is set like a bajillion years before his main series, which is like the Ryria Chronicles or something like that. So they are all going to die for sure because it's like a bajillion years before. But like, how are they gonna die? Like, is it gonna be brutal? Is it gonna break me? That's really what I'm asking. So I just know this book is gonna be tough in the best way. So I predict it will be 5 stars. That is the 8 books that I think will all be 5 stars this year. I hope I get to all of them, because since some of those were the ends of series, I hope I'm able to read those full series. Fingers crossed, because they are series I'm really looking forward to. Thank you guys for watching. As always, your support means the world to me. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know some of your 5-star predictions for this year, or let me know if any of these you've read and also gave 5 stars, because then I'll be even more excited. So if you really like my content, you can always hit the notification bell, and that will notify you every time I post a new video. Thank you for watching. Until next time.